Hello, Ea Torrado from Daloy Movement. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
Sorry.
Wendy.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for a while, and it's always, trust in divine timing when it's meant to be, right? So,
Yeah.
so Aya is a contemporary dance artist and also an energy healer. And unfortunately, we have not yet met in person, but
That's real.
I just feel close energetically to Aya simply because she was my companion during the height of the lockdown. That's when we met
Mm, mm.
through a mutual friend, and Aya helped me loosen my body, like dance by
Mm.
myself in my living room, and so that was a very intimate experience. I think your work really creates that intimacy with the self, and even the people in the Zoom room. So interesting. Aya, please tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up creating this whole Daloy dance movement that I'm so fond of. Yeah.
Wendy, first of all, salamat. I'm a fan of your work. And the moment you said that, or you asked me for this interview, I'm like, yes, of course. I mean, your podcast, like what I told you before this call, it looks so professional. I'm like, wow. And also, I listened to some of your guests, and those are really beautiful insights and a good variety of guests and interviewees.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, salamat for having me.
Salamat.
Yeah, we were introduced by Megan, and we were
Megan.
both. Yeah, hi Megan, salamat. Uh, we were both from ballet. We met in Ballet Manila. So I got a scholarship in Ballet Manila. I was 12 years old, but before that, I'm studying ballet since I was 7. So it was a very young age of, oh my God, I really want to be on stage and dance. And I danced with Ballet Philippines and, got the chance to tour and really dance professionally. But it was in my early 20s that I would say I shifted careers, or there's that sense of, okay, this is not for me anymore. And I knew that my next journey or chapter is going to be contemporary dance and choreography. Uh, in the
So
last,
how did that transition? I'm just curious. Only recently have I been able to appreciate contemporary dance.
mm,
Perfectly
mm,
honest. So is
mm,
that would you say a typical path of a lot of classical ballets, and then they evolve into the more
mm,
contemporary, or
mm.
how did that happen for you?
I would say it's different for depending on the dancer, but yes, there's a good number of dancers who come from classical training and background and ballet and point shoes and tights that delve into contemporary dance later on. But usually it's in their 30s or 40s. So professional dance is a very short career. Yeah, so it really values a specific type of beauty and also youth, but also because it's so athletic. I would say it's the Olympics of dance, when you study ballet. Um, but for me, going towards contemporary, I just felt that I don't want to use my body to be molded for another person's work, but rather I want to create my own work. And I also wanted to be more grounded. I wanted more movement language, rather than just being a princess or just being Sleeping Beauty or the White Swan and the
So
Black
stepping
Swan.
out of the box, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Oh, I love how
yeah,
you present that. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And also the chance to, do site specific work, do work in smaller spaces or in intimate gatherings. Um, Basically from the form and getting out of that form and exploring, possibilities. Um, so there, and then I formed Daloy Dance Company, which is a contemporary dance company based in Manila about 7 years ago. But at the same time that I formed it, I was so interested not in dance for performance, but rather dance as improvisation, because I thought it's very healing to me. Yeah, it's something that had healed me so much. So I wanted to explore that and started out with dancers and thespians, and then later on moved to actually, I want everyone to dance. Like, I don't want people anymore to be thinking of, they have two left feet, but rather any body shape, any, type of music that you want. Like, I want to share that you can dance, and your dance doesn't have to look like my dance, and that was the takeoff point for Daloy, because Daloy is Tagalog for flow. And so I found moments of flow the moment I'm in this improvisation, like jazz musicians and all. um, I know that it's not new, but it was new to me. And at the same time, I came from the dance background, or at least here in the Philippines, that thinks a choreographed set piece for performance is more valuable than, nag-improv lang yan. And I'm like, no, it's so healing. And there could be rigor in it. There could be depth in it. It could be really, healing and primal, even and expressive. And
What
so,
kind of rigor are you talking about? That seems contradictory to me.
yeah. Well, I thought, especially in the beginning, that I said I wanted to explore improvisational dance and intuitive dance. What I meant with rigor is there is something that could come out of regularity and consistency. And there is something that could come out of even giving the practice or sharing it with another person or a group of people, and deepening into, teaching it as well.
So it's more of developing that deep self practice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also realize it's movement meditation. So it's like meditation. Like you could get like, whoa, meditation is so cool from being able to sit down finally for 1 hour. But consistent practice of meditation, even if it's just 3 minutes a day, you see the compound interest over time. And I've also realized that with a somatic embodiment practice, movement practice like Daloy. So yeah, that was my sort of practice-based research. That led me to being an energy healer, but I couldn't out myself because I was too afraid of judgment. Um, because of that whole, I'm in the arts industry and I'm looked at a certain way, or my works should, is looked at with a lens of criticality. So how do you explain that I'm woo woo? I really believe in crystals and energy healing. Um, and it's only the pandemic that really, really gave me the confidence to, you know what, the world is ending. That's it. Like, here, tarot cards, here,
might
crystals.
as well, yeah. I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, does that mean when I met you, you were starting your work integrating energy healing into your movement practice?
I would say I'm doing the energy work the same time as I was doing Daloy, because I got my yoga teacher training back then, and then the Reiki level 1, and then getting into crystals, and the tarot. But it was in secret. It was just with close group of friends. Because my family is also very Catholic, and it's up until the pandemic, and I would pull cards and do lives, which I enjoy. I would get private messages from some people in my past that's, go back to Jesus.
That type of message. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But what's interesting is I know that if this was pre-pandemic Ea who received that, I would be so angry and affected and upset. But during the pandemic, it was like, it's funny. That's it. Like, everyone has the right to send shit.
It's okay to be reactive because everyone's so raw and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to that word healing. You say dancing was healing for you. Can you talk a little more about that for people who don't have any dance practice at all, or I include myself a few years ago?
Yeah. Oh, I would say, well, in my early 20s, I was diagnosed anorexic, and it was a secret, and it was something I'm ashamed of for years. And I promised myself that getting out of ballet in that world is, I want to get better. I want to
healthy.
I want to be healthy and whole. But it took many more years after that. And I saw the ways in which, when you get into contemporary dance, you no longer have to be real thin. Kasi may standards talaga
Right.
eh. I mean, a different form of
Right.
practice has a standard, especially, and it's show business because you're being seen. And the
Mm.
everyday practice is so you shape your body in order to fit or do an art form, that's very strict. So
And
I
centered
wanted to,
around the shape of the body, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, just that makes such a huge difference between, right? Like in contemporary, you're saying there's not a specific body
Yeah,
type as much. Yeah,
yeah,
that would already
yeah,
be healing.
yeah. But then I find myself getting into contemporary dance. And I know the stuff that I wanted to heal, poor body image, poor self image, even, being super OC, but then it took still many years. I found myself like, even while I was in contemporary dance, I was repeating my own habits and patterns. And it all boiled down to, lack of self worth and poor body image and relationship with my body. And I move in ways. It's like my actions, let's say, both in the dancing and also in my life outside of the dancing, is always geared towards I have to improve myself. There's something to fix.
Okay.
There's something
Not
that's
enough,
wrong.
never enough,
Yeah, never
never good
enough.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in the brink of a breakup with a boyfriend at that time who also helped me form Daloy. Was my partner in forming Daloy like 8 years ago or 7 years ago. And we went to the beach because I'm so burnt out also from like I have like I wanted so much work and I dream like that. And the next thing I know, I've got 10 shows in a week.
Exactly. Yeah. You
when,
manifest.
when,
Careful what you wish for. Yeah.
and, um, and, and I told him, I think something's wrong because this is almost the same feeling that I got when I was ending ballet.
Oh, yes.
Is that I'm, I'm at the peak of my dreams, but why am I unhappy? And that's scary. That's a really scary place to be, because that
Wow.
almost means then something must change. And like when you're faced with change, that's so unknown. Change is so unknown. And so, yeah, we were by the beach in Batangas, and it was a full moon. I was looking up at the stars. I'm so tired, and I feel ugly and not enough. Uh, and then I just started to stand up and dance. Yeah, but then prior to that
Spontaneous.
trip, all I could think of is maybe dancing is no longer for me. I don't want to dance anymore. It
Wow.
never gave me a feeling of I'm good enough in my body. Maybe I should just quit. And at the same time, I'm so tired I can't even lift a finger.
Wow.
This is not the way to live. I'm so angry. But then that night I stood up and danced and I couldn't stop until morning. It's like
Oh
something
my
took over me. Yeah. And it
trance. Yeah.
yeah, and I was crying
Yeah.
and at some
Yeah.
point puking and also like what is this? And it was from that trip that I said I want to dance more, but I want to dance more like this. Like it's not for performance, it's not for anyone else, it's not to please anyone. Like it's healing. So that's what I meant with healing.
Yeah.
And I
That
want to
was
say
a
that
turning point.
yeah, it was a turning point. It didn't heal everything overnight. We know that that's
Yeah. Yeah. It
almost
doesn't happen.
impossible, but that's a big turning point.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. And so, tell us a little more about how Daloy came to be. You said you were with your partner. Was it a collaboration, or you just started doing shows and then like, oh, we need a brand, and how did
Yeah.
that
Well,
happen?
my partner at that time, he's really from theater. And so he does contemporary theater works, and then I do contemporary dance. And what I mean with we partnered is he said, "Okay, I think I want you to put up Daloy. Don't worry about money. I think you should keep choreographing and keep forming this baby." So he was my partner in the sense of he's like okay, this is the money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Angel investor. Yeah.
Yeah. But a year and a half after, he broke up with me because he said, okay, Aya, this is it. I love you. I'll always have love for you, but I don't think you can ever love anyone else apart from your work. I'm like, what? That's apples and oranges. But it was also, yeah. We broke up. Yeah. And I continued with the company and we parted ways. And so another round of I need to dance it out. I need to dance.
Sure.
Just
That's
break
life.
it out.
That's life, right? Ups and downs and death and rebirth. Can you tell us a little bit about your full moon ritual? I recently interviewed Cito de Jesus, whom I met on one of your full moon events. Yeah. So when did you start doing those? Was that during the pandemic as well?
Yeah, so we have a ritual that happens every month around the time of the full moon. And we started that last year, November. So it's our 1 year anniversary.
Happy anniversary to ritual.
Yeah. Like what you said, like for community service. Yeah. And I would say also for my sanity, for our sanity, so that there's, a circle that holds us. And I realized in the beginning of the pandemic, we would hold, a 2-week thing, a 1-week thing. And I'm like,
so you do retreats. You're talking about the in-person retreats.
Right? I put up 2 in-person retreats here and also online. And my conclusion from all of that experience is, okay, what's the easiest? The easiest will be the most sustainable.
Right.
And so right now, what we could sustain is the once a month ritual. Yeah, we are inviting different teachers, introducing different healing modalities, and at the same time to sync it around the time of the full moon, and to just bring more information, especially to those who are curious or it's their first time that, we're not scary, evil witches. We're normal people, but have something to share, and that for more people to feel safe. And know about what a safe space is, and they could verbally process, they could talk about their experiences, and at the same time try out different healing modalities every month.
And what's interesting is it's not only dance, right? Because there's at first I thought it was dance related. So Cito, for example, is a dream analyst.
Yeah.
So had nothing to do with dance.
Yeah.
So you kind of expanded your repertoire. Yeah.
As long as it's related to meditation or mindfulness,
or healing.
Or healing. Yeah. And also it's nice because the teachers who want to share there, they just really want to share. Mm-hmm. So it's nice.
Can you tell us a little bit about the in-person retreat?
December last year and February this year, I did a 5-day and 3-day in-person retreat in La Union, here in La Union.
Oh, okay, the in-person,
Yeah.
And the online one?
And the online one, I was able to do a 3-month program.
Oh, it's 3 months, yeah. So what is that one called?
So it was originally called When She Comes, Emergence of the Goddess Within, through dance and song. Yes. And then I did 4 batches. And then the 4th batch, I renamed it to Awakening the Inner Josa. It's nice. It's a really cool experience of, meeting and holding a women's circle and a healing circle once a week. After the 4th batch, I'm like, okay, I need to rest.
You did them back to back.
Yeah, I did them back to back. It's like 3 months and then they graduate and then I rest for a month. But in that month of resting, I'm also marketing, the next batch. Yeah. So we just really ended last August and I really felt that, okay, I'm so tired and I got to be honest and admit that to myself. And so from now until the end of this year, it was a clear message for me to just rest.
Can you tell us a little bit of what is your typical day? You moved to the beach, I think, during the pandemic also, was it?
Yeah, right before the pandemic. But in 2019, I was already coming here for 1 year because my partner lives here.
Okay.
So I would be coming here every month for at least 3 days. But also,
Okay.
he would visit Manila for at least 3 days. So, I think that's a slow build in terms of my relationship or love or admiration for this land, this part of the country. And so, a couple of days and before Duterte actually declared lockdown and it was all like rumors, I was like, okay, I'm decided. I'm going to La Union.
Nice.
I'm going to stay there for the lockdown
Yeah.
because I am just gonna die of gloom and doom and
Yeah.
stress in Mandaluyong. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could feel it in the building, in the
Yeah.
streets,
You had a
and
good intuition.
and I think when you get into energy healing, also you kind of become more sensitive.
For sure. So now you moved there. What is it like? I mean, I also moved to the beach for 4 months, but I didn't get to go in the water every day. So how often do you go to the water? Like what is your typical day like there?
My typical day in the morning, so I wake up around 7 and feed the cats because we have a lot indoor and outdoor cats, water the plants, disinfect the house and the usual places uh, and items, and then make sure that even the indoor plants they get enough sunlight. So and talking to them or singing to them, and incense, clearing the space. It's a new start. And then I would do my meditation. That could be like if I'm really like so much going on, at least 3 minutes. So at least that. And then I
What
do a
kind
little
of
bit of
meditation do you practice?
it's more of a I do a grounding meditation that so just really connecting my tailbone to the middle of the earth and just releasing and grounding and cleansing. And then I also imagine that per room in our house, so I start with one room at a time. I imagine there's also a grounding cord in this room all the way to Mama Earth, and that everything it's no longer needed or foreign energies that need to be composted. So we bring them down and we clear, we cleanse, and we start anew. Yeah, that's kind of like my routine every morning.
Nice. Beautiful.
And then I'm trying to take now dance hall lessons. It's like a hip hop but African movement of the hips or
Wow, you're
Jamaican,
taking dance classes.
which is on
Amazing.
YouTube, just on YouTube.
Wow.
So I'm
Dance
pretty
hall
much
looks fun. It looks really fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, I'm gonna prepare for like if there's a night out somewhere. And you also
New moves.
yeah, kizomba. You do kizomba and
Yeah, so
Latin.
I started learning Latin dance 2019, Kizumba and then bachata, and
How
it's
many times a
been
week?
amazing. Nowadays, kind of once a week. Yeah.
How many
So
hours is that?
no, it's not regular. It's not regular. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you were going through your day, so you do a little dance. I was gonna say, do you dance every day?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
There's a point um, because I've facilitated teachers training for Daloy. So
Yes.
Daloy movement, like the practice itself, a month before the pandemic. And so, during the pandemic, all the plans were like taken off the shelf. It was chaos. So nothing happened as planned. Um, and the idea was that, oh, we're gonna scale by, if people are spaces or studios are wanting dollar movement, then it's not always Ea who will teach it. You have
Other
different
teacher,
teachers
yeah.
that you've trained. But the thing is, we could only carry on during using the online platform.
Yes.
And there is Zoom fatigue, and
Yes.
there is that issue of everyone needs to care for their basic needs, and also
Mhm.
their immune system has to be kept high. And so it was just difficult to maintain that sense of we're a group and we're gonna market stuff and we're gonna organize stuff and we're gonna keep being internally strong even if just
Yeah.
one person shows up and no one's gonna get paid, but we're strong.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. I mean, I know that yoga in the 70s or 80s are seen as woo woo and whatever until it became more mainstream. And I think it's the same for something like Daloy in the Philippines. People are now having an appreciation of it, but it's still really starting. People, when I first started marketing this intuitive kind of dancing back in Manila in, let's say, around 2013 or 14, studios were saying, we're really sorry, we have to cut off the class because students are saying if it's yoga, at least they feel stronger in their exact shapes.
They know what they're doing. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
measure for progress. There's a measure for progress. Like now you can't do a handstand, and then 3 months from now they can. And so they're willing to pay for that. Same with dance. Their extensions are up here, and then 3 months after it's higher. But with the Daloy thing, they feel like, how can I pay for this thing? I don't know how to measure my own improvement. And then,
because it's energy healing. Yeah.
Because it's energy healing and it's internal shifts.
More than dance. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's more long term. You have to see it in the long term. Yeah.
And it's more internal. It's immeasurable.
Yeah. And what I found out is, so we had to disband that whole idea, and then I said, okay, all the values that I put inside the Dali practice is authenticity and agency, moving as you are, going with your own flow. When I moved here in La Union, I felt called to, okay, Ea, how do you embody all of that and practice all of that, even outside of the format of dancing, like in your real, actual life? So I had to ask myself, in what ways am I really authentic, in my whole
Embodying
life?
your practice.
Yeah. And what stuck was, I needed to be still, like physically still. And how can I really honor that? And so a lot of the Daloy movement were like, where's the dancing? Where's the dancing? And I had to disappoint them over and over because I'm like, I'm studying stillness and I don't know where Daloy is.
So amazing. I love that. That's beautiful. That's so, I mean, it takes so much courage for you to be able to do that. So thank you. Thank you for that.
It was so difficult.
Thank you. Yeah, that is difficult. Because a lot of people are having an expectation
and most nights when that was happening, my human mammal logical mind was saying, oh, you mean failure? And I had to really like,
oh, the inner critic. We all know the inner critic.
Yeah.
But it really makes me think of you're right. Dark and light, silence and sound, and color, and maybe transparency or the blank page, and then of course movement and stillness. So, the fact that you're honoring that need makes you an amazing leader, actually. Oh, yeah.
And I also feel like the meta or the more macro version of that, by living, I'm asking also myself, like, so what is Daloy to me? And it was so clear to me in a very embodied sense all these years. It's movement of the body, getting to, a more heightened state of awareness, some sort of self-discovery or self-healing or self-care. But it's becoming a really spiritual practice for me. And the clear messages that I'm getting is I need to sit with it more, or I need to live more so that I could share it deeper or write about it or speak about it. And this year I'm so scared of that because even the community that I formed pre-pandemic or the first year of the pandemic, who looks to me as, where's the movement practice, where's the dance? And I go, wait a minute, I'm really going far out woo. Like I need to say that because I feel that there's an incorporation of, when we pull cards or when we also do Reiki, there's a sense of, we know the traditional ways of doing it, how it was passed down to us by our teachers. There's still some form, but at some point, this is just for me, you feel called to follow your intuition and to somehow deviate from the form because you're in the very present moment and you're in communion with a higher spirit that tells you, actually, don't use salt, just use water. Or that tells you, this is what this card usually means, but in this context, it's
Yeah.
this. And so I'm there's even that whole, what if Daloy is more than just a dance practice,
Right.
but it's a philosophy that really involves trusting one's intuition through and through.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And it's still scary for me at times.
I understand. I understand that. I mean, it's even. I remember when I questioned my work as a Reiki master, and at one point I was like, "Do I still want to be, part of Reiki?" And that's a scary thought, right? Like when you build your life on something, and since you were 7, you've been a dancer. I've only been practicing Reiki since 2015, and that was a scary thought for me to think.
Yeah.
But it's it's how we grow. It's part of our journey. Like if we didn't question ourselves in our practice, we wouldn't be authentic leaders, I think, for the community.
What was your journey like when you questioned your Reiki? What did you find?
Oh, okay. I'll share a personal story. Is that so? I started teaching Reiki 2016 from my house and then from the studio. And then over time, of course, you start with Reiki level 1 teaching when you're comfortable. Your students are comfortable. You teach Reiki level 2, and then eventually I started teaching Reiki master level. And one of my students, it's an application process because I take Reiki master level very seriously, right? And so one of my students had just completed level 2, and applied for level 3, and I was discussing with her that I didn't feel she was ready. And then at some point she found another teacher in Manila who took her on for level 3. And then I started hearing my students telling me, like, Wendy, there's somebody who's like discrediting you as a teacher and invalidating your training, and all of it happened several times.
That's not very awakened. That's not very healed.
So I was kind of like, all right, I think I made a good decision with that person in particular. But so at first I was ignoring it, right? Because it's like, why would I, right? But then it
just don't engage.
It kept happening, and I felt this is at the time. Like maybe if it happened today, I would react differently. This was before the pandemic, so maybe 2019, and I felt I had to address it. So I know her teacher, so I talked to her teacher and like, hey, like your student is kind of one of my other students said this character assassination. These are her words. That she was very dramatic, and they were in another class, and was like, how could teacher Wendy betray me in this manner? And I was like, this is so ridiculous. So,
and it's also, if it's, I mean, let's say in the context of safe circle or whatever, you could really, outpour your emotions. At least don't mention a name. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. And then?
Well, I had to question, do I want to be part of this, of Reiki? Because after all, energy healing is energy healing, right? And Reiki is one form.
It's just one form.
Yeah. One form among many, many. And of course, I'm so grateful for Usui Sensei, and helped so many people, and still is. But I feel like that challenge helped me actually question my practice, and I had to go deep and really be like, how true is my practice, and totoo ba yung sinasabi niya? Is there truth in what she's saying? I had to go through that whole questioning, and it's important. I mean, I encourage my students to question everything, including their teachers, including me, right? Until you find it in your heart to. Yeah. So that was my process, and let me just tell you that my Reiki practice, all of my practices are constantly evolving. Like a few months ago, I found a teacher of Bushido, which is the way of the samurai. And so Mikao Usui also came from the samurai lineage. And so now I feel like I'm deepening my Reiki practice through learning Bushido, which is also somatic because I work with I'm working with the body.
Yeah,
actually,
you
my
are.
body hurts because I'm holding on too hard. Like it's so fascinating. And so everything, but we need those periods of like self-doubt and questioning, and we need it, and challengers also is nice.
Yeah.
At the moment it's uncomfortable. At the moment it's like, like go away, right? But looking back,
life would have been so easier if you don't exist.
but then maybe I wouldn't have found this depth in my practice. I would have had these conversations with some of the and explained why my process is different, why like I don't have the same like all of this stuff. So so I really appreciate that.
And what happened? What happened to that issue? So just
I mean, what happened is nothing. I just did my thing, and I don't think it affected my reputation. I mean, and I think I would have been okay whatever had happened, because Vicky's not the only thing. I'm not attached to it. You know what I mean? There's no attachment to the name of it. Like, I enjoy doing ceremonies. I enjoy doing sessions like you. I enjoy doing divination or whatever it is, right? So nothing. I mean, the rest doesn't matter. Like, it's not about us. It's something bigger than us, right? So yeah. Ea, thank you for being so open.
Thank you.
Let me tell you one thing. Like, I told you that I'm studying with a sensei in Japan, right? I'm learning Bushido from him, and the way we connected is because one of his hashtags in Instagram is Reiki. So I was intrigued, and I think I followed that hashtag. So I messaged him and like, are you a Reiki practitioner? Because I don't know a lot of Japanese Reiki practitioners. And I was so mesmerized by his movement, the yielding the sword so gracefully. And I thought it was so beautiful. I was like, are you a Reiki practitioner? And he said, no, but it's something I'm interested in. So, so these things, if he hadn't put that hashtag, maybe I wouldn't have started working with him. And it turns out he became my Reiki student. So I'm his student, and then he's my Reiki student. So yeah, I think, as Chris Luard, again, whom you know, says, like, just navigating through life and touching on things very lightly, very, very lightly, and even sensei, I told you my arm hurts because I grip so hard at the sword, and I'm afraid that I'm not doing it right. I'm afraid my grip is wrong. Everything is wrong. And he's like, you have to learn to grip lightly, very lightly.
That's so wise.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really, and in the tarot, the sword is our mental processes, our thoughts, right? And so I feel like this is so applicable in all my life. Like, just hold on to your thoughts so lightly, and then you won't injure yourself. You won't injure yourself so much.
Oh my God, it's so oh, yeah.
Ganda, no?
Ganda.
Ganda.
Thank you.
Well, this is a different type of podcast episode. Definitely different from my regular format.
I have something to chew on, so thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for the rooster in your
Thank you for the organic OST.
For those of you who haven't been to the Philippines, you better love roosters.
Because they'll wake you up.
They'll also, in the middle of the night, they'll
in the middle of the day,
yeah. They have their own schedule. I'll leave you to your processing. to your contemplation.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much for this, Wendy.
Thank you.
Um,
Such a
I'm
pleasure.
so enlivened and grounded. Um, Thank you for your questions. Thank you for the stories you've shared. Like really, and tawag dun, yay! There's a unique format. I believe in that. Exchange. It's
Yeah,
an
I had a feeling.
yeah.
It's called improvisation.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we were taken by surprise in such beautiful places. So, salamat.
I hope to see you soon, meet you soon in person.
Yeah, come here. It's easy na. Thank
Bye,
you so
Ea.
much. Bye, Wendy. Salamat. Mwah. Bye-bye. Thank you.